And we should be good to go, and everyone should be able to hear me. I've just unmuted myself. So we'll get into it. I'm not going to waste much time. I'm aware of everyone's time, so we will crack into it. Now, just to go through, I've just got a small slideshow here, so nothing too onerous. It's only about 5 slides. We've sort of already gone about the company in that ad there. So I'll just go a little bit about myself. So I've got a structural engineering associate diploma, over 25 years in the industry experience, and we really pride ourselves on having people that have actually been in the industry rather than just techs that have gone through it. So I have been on the tools, worked a lot of tier 1, mid-tier and smaller consultancies. I've been using Bluebeam for about 6-7 years now, so I'm pretty experienced with Bluebeam. I am on LinkedIn as well if you do want to have a look at my work history. I'm a certified Bluebeam trainer, do a lot of talks and presentations in the industry, and there are just a few of the companies I've worked at. Just a little bit about Bluebeam. So it does have over 2 million users now worldwide, and it really is the top software that people are using. So especially in contracting and building, and it's actually specifically designed for the construction industry. A little bit of the user face, which hopefully we're reasonably familiar with. I'll just wait till we get in there. Really, I'm not going to go through too much of where the buttons are. And just a reminder there about the power of the PDF. So it does contain all your metadata, hyperlinks, etc. I'm sure we're all pretty familiar with Zoom now, so I will give an opportunity at the end if anyone does want to ask any questions. But if you do have any questions as we go, please use the chat, and I'll make sure that I'll review that towards the end. So I'll make sure that I cover off anything in the chat. And now I'm going to open up Bluebeam and we'll get into it. I've just got a couple of basic files here, like one I've put a bit of a background in, and I've actually scaled it. So one of the things that you can do with images, so here you can see I've actually brought an image in, placed it on my drawing. I've actually placed a logo here and a bit of a title block that I've had in my tool set. And I've actually put a bar scale in as well, which I've had on my tool set. Now, one thing that's good about images, and when you bring them in, you can actually scale them using any known dimension. So you do obviously need to make sure it's a pretty front-on view. Obviously, the perspective can change it a little bit, but I've just brought in a file here and I've calibrated it. The way I calibrate it is I actually use the people here to sort of get a rough height, about 1.8 meters. And use that to apply that scale to the whole front. So from that, I've been able to get the size of this opening, the size of this facade here, this shop front, and I've done a few markups. So today we're concentrating really on the profiles and how we can use those profiles to basically push out a standard sort of setup. So this is one I've got. Now, Revu itself, so profiles contain information about the overall layout of that Revu interface. So it's got your toolbar positions, tool chest contents, panel configurations, etc. So a lot of this, as we know, is customizable. So I've customized mine a fair bit. I've put a lot of the measurement tools here. I've also put sketch to scale, which I use quite a lot and find, which I use quite a lot. I've got the alignment tools here as well. So these are quite valuable if you really want to align your markups. So I find those quite useful as well, and I do have those on there. I've also got a couple of the flip controls here, which are quite good if you want to sort of flip doors, if you're pasting in doors and the like. These flip controls are quite useful. The thing is with the flip controls, and especially these alignment ones, is they don't really come under a toolbar as such. So they are quite difficult to find. And some of them you can't even find. Like, so those alignment ones, they're not actually in any of the drop-down menus. So a good way to find it, especially now in Revu 20, you do have the help here, and you can actually find tools and commands. So if you just type in any part of that command, like say flip, for instance, you'll see that these flip toolbars become available. So you can use the tools from there. Obviously that's a bit onerous, so I do prefer to add them into my toolbar. So I'll go through that on how to go through the toolbar as well. So Revu does come with some preloaded profiles. So all the profiles there under your review button at the top here, and we have our profiles. So it does come with some standard ones. I have added ones in as well. So we do have the plain review one, which is really just a basic streamlined interface, and it's appropriate for most users. Now, what I have done is I've obviously added to that, and I've overridden that original review interface. We also have a review advanced one. So these are just a couple of the ones that come in as preloaded. So this is for users who would benefit from like a more robust interface. So it's like people who are coming from like 2017, etc. If I change to that profile, you'll see it's just got a few more. It doesn't have much more because I've customized the old one. But it's sort of got sort of panel access here on the left, as well as on the right as well. So it's a bit more of a robust interface, and you might find that a little bit more familiar, particularly if you're coming from the older versions. Obviously, the interface has changed a lot over the years. So if you are coming from like review 15 or something like that, like it's gone to very much this dark and sort of monotone interface. So it's a lot fresher, it's a lot cleaner. There's also one of the other standard ones, which is a quantity takeoff. So this is one of the inbuilt ones as well. So you can see as I'm flicking through each one, it's got different toolbars here. And this one has all the panel access on the left, and it's just put a toolbar on the right. So you can see how that interface is changing. That was a bit of a subtle change, but you should be able to see the difference there. This one is particularly for estimators and specifiers who need to view plans and specs, do your quantity takeoffs or add markups. One of the other inbuilt ones is the field issues. So this toolbar itself is really if you're completing that punch process. So you're sort of taking your quantities, it straight away brings up the markups list, etc. The best way to start your own profile is really to find one that is pretty close to what you want. So just find one and then basically start amending it to how you want it to be. So I've got this one, I've changed a couple of these toolbars. Now the toolbars themselves, so I will go through how to set these toolbars. If you right click in your toolbar, you will find that you can turn some on, and you've also got customize down here. So if I go through the tools as well, you will see that there are toolbars and you can get to that same customize. So this is where you can really start to customize them. It is simply a matter of basically selecting them, and that will turn them on or off. The ones that I always like to have on by default are, of course, my status bar, navigation bar, and properties toolbar. So these are down the bottom. You'll see if I turn them off, I sort of lose all my items down the bottom. So the status bar really gives you a bit of information, sort of lets you know if there's been a scale applied, gives you the drawing size as well. And it also gives you the locks here as well, so that you can snap to markup, apply a grid and snap to that grid, or snap to reuse your markup tools. And also sync your windows. I probably don't need to worry too much about syncing because I've only got the one. Again, your so tools and toolbars, and the navigation bar just gives us that ability to easily go to a split screen, vertical or horizontal. It also has our pan and selection, select text, etc. And you can flip through the pages quite quickly as well. The other one that's standard is the properties toolbar. Now I find this quite useful. I do like to have it up. So we know if we do select something, you can always change it here through your cog. and that gives me all that ability. But it's always easier just to have up that properties toolbar. So you can see at the moment that isn't there. It usually resides at the top. So if I do turn on that properties toolbar, as soon as I select something, so I'll select this markup, you'll see that I really get those shortcuts to be able to change the color and the size of the text, the fill, etc. So you can change it all pretty easily. You can see straight away just by changing that the background, it's actually made that lettering sort of pop a little bit better. So they're the three that I like to always have up as standard. Now the toolbars themselves, again, if I just select on one, so if I selected on line style, for instance, you'll see how this quick little line style one come up. You can have your font one, which will bring that font one up as well. Now, again, to adjust and move these around, you will see at the moment these are locked. So again, if I right click on my toolbar, I can lock or unlock these. Now, if I unlock it, you'll see that I get what I call the dots, for want of a better description. I get like sort of row of dots at the front of each toolbar. And this allows you to basically move them around and adjust it. So I can place that one there. I could sort of bring this one, that's now, I could bring that down onto the second row. And you could end up basically having sort of 4 or 5 rows of all these tools if you wanted it like that. You'd obviously lose a little bit of screen space in doing that. So much better to sort of minimize it to a degree and only really have tools that you use a lot up here. Again, I can simply just go to that tick and turn off my font and then replace my alignment tools back up to where they were. Once you're happy with it, obviously just stop it getting moved around too much. Always a good idea to lock it. So again, if I just right click at the top and then lock it, you'll see all those little dots will disappear. And then you really just can't drag. So I've just dragged that and you see it actually dragged the whole mirror or the whole window. So yeah, it's sort of always a good idea to sort of lock them once you've adjusted them. Now you can change the icons individually in each toolbar as well. So if you do go to that customize, I can actually go to like my measure tools here. So I can find my measure. So that's this toolbar. You'll see here all the icons. So they're the icons it's got in there. If I go to my alignment ones, you'll see that I've got my alignment toolbar. So this here is actually showing me those items I've got. So this is from the categories and this is the toolbar itself here. So you'll see how I've got align left, align center, align right, etc. So if I just deselect one of these, so align right, which is this one here, and apply it, you'll see that that has now disappeared. You can also put in separators as well. So I can return on that align center, reapply it, you'll see how that comes back. So you can put ones from different items in there. So I could go to like my all, grab one, let's just grab a copy for instance. I'll grab a count because that's obviously a bit more easier to see. And by grabbing that count, I can just insert that. We'll insert it at the bottom and I can use the arrows here to just move it up. And if I move that to the top, which will place it here, and then again, apply, you'll see how that has put that count into my toolbar. Probably not a great one to have in there, seeing I've just got it here as well. So this is where you can really create your own. You can add another toolbar. So again, I'll just delete that one out of there. You can easily create your own toolbar. Call this by your own name. Probably always a good idea to never use symbols. And then you can start to create your own toolbar from all the commands. So this will all be saved in your profile. Now, the idea is to really get these toolbars how you want them and then save it into a profile which you can push through to your company. you can really lock down this profile and lock down those tool sets. So just to show you, so again, with the panel as well, so I'll just go through the panel access, how we change that as well. Again, it's just right clicking. So you can show all your icons, turn them on or off. And again, you can just drag these icons over to like another position over on the right here, for instance. Sometimes some users I know do that a fair bit. They have a panel on each side. So potentially you could have the toolbar open and also your properties on the right. Obviously screen space is becoming a bit of a premium, but that's a way you could have the settings up totally. If you did have that, chances are you'd probably want to get rid of your properties toolbar. It's a bit overdone. So the same commands are here as here. So you do want to keep it pretty streamlined. Again, everyone has their different ideas, and you can move these icons up as well. So you can see simply by like selecting it and dragging it, I can change the position of it. And again, you can show different items just by turning them on or off. So the layers, you can see that one is here. If I do hide that layer one, just by selecting it, it'll delete it from there. And I could hide it by right clicking and turn it off. And again, move that to where I want it to be. So you can really adjust this whole interface. So it's a good idea to get it to what you want, use a good base one to set it up, and then we can export and manage that profile. So if you go to profiles here, you can then go to manage, and you can then actually import or export this one. Now, because I haven't saved this one, you can see it actually hasn't got an option there to export it. So I do need to save the current profile. So if I do go into review again and profiles and just go to save profile, that will save it. And then I can manage that profile. Once I select it here, you'll see I can export it. Now, a couple of the things to note in here. Now, we'll take across your tool set as well if you include dependencies. So include dependencies, make sure that all your tool sets, your custom columns, custom statuses will come across. So it is a good idea to include those dependencies, and you will include those toolbars that you have set up and the tool chests. I will go through tool chests a bit. I know a lot of us are here just for profiles, so I'm going to concentrate on profiles. We should have some time at the end, and I'll just go through quickly again how to put stuff into your tool set. But I know some people are probably quite comfortable with that, so I'm not going to waste much time doing it. So we can export this. Now you can see that I've got this just on a local location. You can export that to a network location, etc. I will just put it on my desktop at the moment. And I'll just save that file. Now, again, you can add profiles in through here. So you can add and create a new one, or you can actually import one from your network location. Now, one of the tricks with profiles, if you are using those shared profiles on a network location, you really want to make sure that you link to that centralized location. So you would actually be linking to your network drive here. And what you can do is actually save that profile and make it read only. Now, this is a great idea to just push it through so that everyone has those standardized toolbars, etc. So with that standardization, you can really increase your efficiency because everyone's doing those same markups. Everyone's got those same tool chests, etc. Then your power users can use that standard profile to then enhance their local one. So they could use that one to then create their local one, add in a couple of their more user profile, like not their user profiles, like their user tool sets. So they would use your company one and then use their user ones on top of it. Now, one of the things to note is it is a good idea, and I'll just go through to my desktop here. So I'll just open that file. So it's always a good idea if you are going to push this. So say if this was on your network location, do make sure you right click and go into the properties of that file itself. And what we're going to do here is just make sure that it's read only, because you don't want people to set it. And then if they use that shared profile and then they close it or change things and it's their active profile, it will save that. Like if they hide that toolbar, it will update this file, which we don't want to do. We do want to make sure that this is read only. So make sure you go under the security, and in here, probably shouldn't be showing all my PC information, but there's not too much there, to be honest. And make sure that you do change the permissions for everyone to just deny them full control and to modify. So just make it read only. And that way they won't be pushing. This file will be read only. You can make it that it's usable by only yourself or the administrators to actually change stuff, so people won't be able to change that profile. And that's how you do it. So you can add one here or select one and modify it. So base it off one of that, or you can add your new one. Always much easier just to basically find a good one and then tweak it a bit and then push that out to your whole company. Again, just make sure that you include dependencies. So going through just some things in the tool chest. So I've got a My Tools tool chest here. You can see I don't have much in it at the moment. So again, just to add things into your tool chest, again, it's quite simple. There are a few different ways to do it. One of the good things to always remember with tool chests or with Bluebeam in general, Revu in general, is if you right click, if in doubt, right click it out. So if I select that and right click, you'll always see down the bottom here, there is an option to add that to the tool chest. Now, if I add that in, that'll add that standard note with those settings. So generally what I like to do is I do like to copy, and it's always a good idea to make sure the tools that you're using are how you want them in a standard one. So what I'm going to go here is just change the text in here. And I'll just put a note in that these changes to be made. And maybe you might put at the back of it like contractor, for instance. Once you have it like that, so I've got it exactly how I want. I probably actually want to take off an arrow, to be honest, so I will delete one of the leaders. And then just by right clicking, I can add that to my tool chest, specify the tool chest I want it to go to. The tool chest does need to be open. You will notice that I did have a lot of tool chests, but I do only have these sort of 4. So you do need to have it open to add to it. And I'm going to add that to my tools. So I've got that call out there. I'm also going to add in this, this like plywood size I've got. So again, just add it to my tool chest and add that into my tools. And I'm just going to take this comment as well. Now I haven't actually made it with that text in it, so I'll just grab that one. And again, just add to my tool chest and my tools. So you can see in here, I have those 3 different callouts. Now, if I just use them straight from here, it's basically going to put on exactly the note I've got. So this is where it's a good idea, as I said, to just change that comment to be like something a bit more typical that you need. Like for this one, for instance, I could have changed that to like just a comment or something like that. Now, again, these each have settings, each of these toolbars. So I can change that from symbol, which sort of doesn't give you a lot of information. And again, just using the slider at the bottom here, I can either make them quite small or quite large. it's a good idea to have the settings and have that detail, and then you get that bit of extra information, which sort of really explains what it's doing. Now, again, if I use that directly from here, I get that exact same call out. If I use that one, I get that exact same area. And if I use this one, I get that exact same note. Now, this is okay, because if you do, you can adjust this. So I can adjust where that arrow goes to. I can easily double click and edit the text to be whatever I want to. But generally a better idea is to actually change this into what we call a properties mode. So there's a couple of ways again to do that. I can right click and change this to properties mode. And I'll do that for all of them. Or I can just double click as well to change that to properties mode. Now, if I do that, you saw before when I brought on that other one, it's brought exactly that same markup on. Where if I now use it in the properties mode, it is changing that so that it's a whole new area. And you can see how it's given me the properties of that, but it hasn't actually dictated the size or whatever. So that's where you can really standardize it. If you have a standard markup that, well, each bit of plywood I put on is going to have these sort of orange settings. I'm going to have the segment lengths and the square meterage. You can have that in there. And then again, you can filter that through your markups, etc. So it's all really about standardizing your company. And that way you've got the ability to go through here and filter things properly and get just the length measurements you want. You can filter by those plywood sizes, etc. So all those sketch to scales, for instance, I could filter the list, filter by my sketch to scale. And you'll see how it's given me just those ones there. So really, you sort of get that ability to sort of filter things a lot more and go through it. Now, again, to lock a tool set. Now, again, you can lock these. These can be added in. So you do want to make sure you lock it. So the first thing to lock it, if you are pushing it out to your company, is to export it. And again, I'll save that first of all. Always a good idea to save it. Again, I'll just put it on my desktop for this instance. And once I've got it, again, I can find it through my tools here and go to my tools. Now, again, going through your properties and going to through your security, you can again change that all to read only. And I'll obviously give everyone the right to read it. Yep. Yep. Because I'm changing that for administrator and I'm an administrator, it's a bit clunky. I'm not doing this on a network, so yeah, you can give them the ability to read through here. Yep. So once you do that, it will actually have a lock on this. A blue lock will appear to the right of the name here. And that, like, as an administrator, you can grant a user write permissions to the file and set others to read only. So you really need to change those settings, and that way you can sort of lock it. So it's always a good idea to have one locked in your company. So you might have one for the people doing the quantities, and it just makes it easy that everyone's got all the same notes, everyone's got all the same controls and stuff. Then your power users, of course, can make their own one that sits on top of that profile. So it does allow your users to, again, have their own profile, and that's where they will come in, and instead of using that company review one you have, they will have like a review underscore their name, where they'll base that off your company one and have some of the things that they use in addition to others as well. So that's about it. Again, just make sure that if you are sharing those tools on a network, link to the location on the centralized network location. There are a couple of resources as well, which are quite good. So there is a review manual, which you can access. So there are some training resources and stuff through here. Now, you can send me emails or whatever, or go through our info@cloud2k.com. If you have any questions, they'll eventually land on my desk anyway. And yeah, so just make sure you manage your tool sets. And whenever you want to export one, if you've got one, so it's just through here. And this is where you can export it and export that to your network location. If you do want to, again, you've got the manage tool sets here, and this is where you can import them from that network location. Now, a lot of people, if you're trying to set them up for your company, there is a review deployment guide. So you can actually deploy out your Bluebeam, and that will change all the settings of everyone's machines. So there is a deployment guide. I'll just search for that here. It is here. I will put that link in the chat as well. So I'll just put that link into the chat. So there is a good deployment guide. And this really goes through how to set up a deployment package in MSI. It is a bit sort of IT heavy. So it does set up this MSI deployment package where you can basically add in your like your settings. So you can have your custom settings, have your, I'm eventually getting down to it, but you can really set in the profiles and all that you want and set that through. There's also an administrator guide as well, which is quite useful. So I will put that link in as well. So this is the administrator guide. So it's got a lot of info about in here. I can find the referee preferences, and it does have a whole bit here about the profiles. So how to export these profiles and how to get these through your company. So again, I will just grab that address and I'll put that in the chat as well so that everyone can use it. They're real helpful ones if you are doing that more administration stuff, like pushing it out to your company rather than being an individual user. Can you split out the markup list into a separate window? So if you're going to do that, you can't really split it out as such. The really only way to do it is if you, you can sort of, what I would do is if I was going to do that, if I was using two screens, I would stretch this out over those two screens, and then you can sort of move that over to the right. So that's how you can do it. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're saying. You do sort of run out of that screen space, but it does sort of need to actually sit on Bluebeam itself. So you can see there, I'm just grabbing that, basically that, whoops, that markup there, and I'm just dragging it, and you can drag it to where you want it to sit. And well, yeah, look at that. You can. So if you do split it and have your Bluebeam on one screen, you could drag that off onto another screen to sort of make it a bit more usable. And again, it's just a matter of docking that back in to here. Now, again, just a reminder, if you do change anything like that, it will, the next time you open it, it will be your active profile. So unless you have made that profile read-only, it will update on everyone. So it's just a bit of a trap there. If you are using a markup or a profile on a network location, do make sure you make it read-only, and that way it's not going to constantly change. Obviously, if you have that network location and it's constantly changing, it's going to annoy everyone. So do make sure you make it read-only. And that way, if people do change it, if it is read-only, when people do change it, they'll just lose all their changes each time. So if you did, in other words, muck around with the toolbar, if you were using the network one and it was read-only, you would just, each time you shut down Revu, you would lose those changes. And to do things like this as well, so I've had that as a toolbar. So again, you can just use G for snapshot and basically grab that toolbar. And then you can, once it's on there, you can then just use Control V. So I'll just put that on my second page here. I don't have a block for it, but if I Control V, I can put that on. And so that's now part of it. You'll see that that's actually gone into my toolbar. So that's just by taking a snapshot. It's gone into my recent tools. Everything always goes into the recent tools that you've done. And again, just a simple way to get things into your tool chest. You can simply drag and drop that into this one. So you'll see now it's actually part of this toolbar. The other way to do it is actually, again, like right clicking, or you can go through the properties themselves. So if you go under properties, you'll see right down the bottom, there is an option to add that to the tool chest, and you can add it to a specific tool chest. Now, what I like to do with this toolbar is you can see at the moment, I can't really select or edit that text because it's sort of part of the, that markup themselves. It wasn't real, it was a snapshot. It wasn't actually text that I placed there. A good way, if I did want to change that, I can flatten that to the drawing. So remember, if you flatten things, it will make them part of that PDF. So if I flatten that, I'm going to actually, the currently selected, just do the selected markup and flatten it. Again, depending if you were using it internally, you may select allow markup recovery so that someone can unflatten it. If you are sending it to clients, you probably want to actually make sure they can't unflatten it. So, and then flatten that markup. And that flattened it all right. It's probably because I've actually flattened it, and that is an image. I haven't actually flattened that. So I probably needed to actually flatten both of them. You can see that that image I actually had was pasted on. I haven't actually flattened that to the document. So that's why it actually flattened that as the background. So that's why that tripped up there, where I should have flattened this markup as well. But if I did have that, now that I've actually got it flattened, I can actually go in and then start to actually edit that PDF content. So I could edit the text. And make that my column details. And have that as sheet 2, change the scale. And maybe change the date I did it as well. So that's where I could start to change that data. And obviously I would have had that image flattened previously, so I would have sat there. But if I now flatten that, it's going to probably sit on top of the text. So yeah, it's all a bit of a, I should have done that prior. So that's how you can do it and basically have those tool chests. Hopefully everyone's got a fair bit out of that. So just to a final couple of slides. Again, if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A or in the chat. So just going through this. So we do provide discovery workshops, rapid starts, office integration. So we can like come into your office and go through that and go through some integration. Blue bursts are quite good. I'm having a fair few clients come up to me now with and doing blue bursts. They're a good way for your company. Like generally I come in or we do a remote session for an hour and a half, and we can do like a lunch and learn or a blue burst session where we particularly focus on just a couple of things. So it might be like markups or it might be the tool chest. We go through that and it generally helps your team get all that knowledge. We can do manuals as well. So I think there might be a new question there. So I'll just check that again. Yeah. So I think I've answered that question, which I've done. So there are no open questions. And that's it. So thanks to everyone for attending. Hopefully got a fair bit out of it. If you do have any questions, please email info@cloud82k.com. And we can sort of help out your company or help out you if you do have any questions. And I'd like to just thank everyone for their time. So that's the best email to get me on. I've got full access to that. So, and Cloud A2K. Thank you, everyone.